Blessed be the name of God. In today's first lesson from the book of Genesis, Jacob is heading out of town as fast as he can, running for his life from his brother Esau. If you remember the story, Esau is spitting mad and is seeking revenge because Jacob tricked their father Isaac into bestowing the family blessing and birthright upon Jacob instead of Esau. So we read in the story this morning that Jacob comes to a certain place. The names of places were very important. They denoted meaning and importance. This, however, is a desolate place. A place with no name, no importance. And here in the middle of nowhere, running for his life, Jacob has a dream. It's a dream that is so real that he remembers it all his life. And this nameless place becomes a critical, crucial place, a special place. This is a defining moment for Jacob. It's his life dream. The dream comes when he most needed it and least expected it. The dream sustained him in difficult times. He had the birthright and the blessing, but they really didn't mean much. The inheritance wouldn't matter when he was dead, and maybe he was starting to wonder anyway, if all his scheming and trickery had been worth it. Since he couldn't return home, he wouldn't receive the inheritance anyway. If he were in exile, he wouldn't get any land, and he wouldn't get any livestock. The words of blessing intended for Esau, but given instead to Jacob, might turn out to be just words, maybe even mocking words. Jacob is afraid, and he's filled with loneliness. He's leaving behind life as he knows it. He's left his family behind. It is just Jacob and his camel. In the middle of nowhere, he lays his head to sleep on a stone pillow. Yep, a stone pillow. No one chooses a stone pillow. You prefer something soft, like a blanket, but no one chooses a stone. You lie down on a stone when that's all you have. There are a lot of stone pillows that we have to lie on. We lie down on stone pillows when there are no options, when we have no other choice. Think of all the stone pillows we have in this country because of COVID-19. Financial problems, evictions, unemployment. Wondering whether schools and churches will be open or be virtual only. There's the fear of getting the virus or having it and giving it to someone else. Maybe we're filled with grief or feeling isolated or dealing with deep loss. Maybe like Jacob, we're running from something or someone. Maybe we're running from our past or running from commitments or running from a decision that needs to be made. Maybe we're running from God's call. In those times when we have to sleep on a stone, we need a dream. We need a vision. We need a word from God. And in those times, God may speak to us. If we're listening, we can hear God speaking to us with words of comfort and words of hope and words that can see us through, words that give us a vision, a future. Jacob has a dream, a vision. It would be better to say, I think, that he was given a dream. He is blessed with a dream. The dream did not tell him that everything would be easy. There would be difficult times ahead. It was in that kind of time that Jacob had his dream. In his dream, there's a ladder or a ramp. Traffic is moving between heaven and earth. Jacob had felt that he was traveling alone, but the reality was that he was not alone at all. God was with him. We are connected with heaven. God is very near to us always. This dream gives Jacob hope when he needs it most. Before, he thought he was going to Laban's house, but now the traveling would be different. Now he knew not only where his feet were going, but he knew where his life was going. His journey was purposeful. As God had promised Abraham and Isaac, he would be the father of a great nation, as numerous as the dust of the earth, spread in all directions. The whole world would be blessed through Jacob and his offspring. This dream guided Jacob for the rest of his life. Jacob's dream was never forgotten. It was one that changed the course of his life and guided him all the days of his life. God said, "I'm with you." The road ahead would still be difficult. There's no question about that. But from that point on, Jacob would always know that he was not alone. The dream was a promise of God's care and God's love and God's presence in his life. What a powerful thing to hear God say to us, "I am with you." No matter how bleak things may look, we are not alone, for God is with us. And then God says to Jacob, "I will keep you." God promised Jacob not only to be there, but to keep him, protect him, guard him, nurture him. We all know this is the kind of thing that is often hard to see at the time, but often becomes clearer in hindsight. When we look back at our lives, when we see all the ways that we so easily might have tripped up and stumbled, when we see the real trials we have endured but somehow come through, we can perhaps more easily see the grace of God at work in our lives. In the midst of trials and tribulations, God doesn't necessarily give us easy answers or quick solutions, but God gives us God's own self. "I will keep you." And then God says to Jacob, "I will bring you back to this land." This is a promise of home. I think it's safe to say few of us have left home in fear for our lives, but many of us have traveled far from where we grew up. If home meant a great deal in Jacob's time, the whole concept of home has changed considerably for us in our time. A minority of folks here at St. Stephen's grew up on Whidbey Island. Many of us have come from distant places, from other parts of our country, and a few perhaps from other parts of the world. But the promise of home still speaks to all of us. "I will bring you home. I will bring you to a place where you belong." At the deepest level, we find our home in God. In the words of our hymn today, that lovely, lovely dwelling place. Jacob, sleeping on a stone in a nondescript, out-of-the-way place, has a promise of God's home. Jacob's dream would sustain him for the rest of his life. He was a young man with many trials ahead, but this dream would always be with him. God would always be with him. From his birth, God had chosen Jacob. From this point on, Jacob would also choose God. My brothers and sisters, God's words to Jacob are God's words to us. God says, "Trust in me. I will be with you. I will keep you. I will give you a home." And now let these words have God's way with you. And the people say,